of SoulFest 2022. Here on this panel, I am so excited to be bringing to you two amazing artists. We're going to have a conversation about art and advocacy and learn a little bit more about Black HMU United. It's an important conversation to have. The last couple of years, we have had other panels during SoulFest, and this is an opportunity for us as artists to find out what is going on in other sectors of the industry, and also to see how we, as an artist and as audience members or theater goers, art lovers, to be advocates in the industry. So I would like to welcome you both. Thank you so much. And please introduce yourselves. Let's start with you, Wumi.
Hey, my name is Wumi Fawara, and I'm the founder of Black HMU United nonprofit. It's been such a privilege and an honor to be here for SoulFest, and thanks for having us.
Thank you. Nikia?
Hi, my name is Nikia Mathis. I'm an actress, multi-hyphenate actress and hair wig designer, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Nikia. So a little bit of background, Wumi and I actually met during the pandemic and online. So we have never actually met in person because we are both delegates for the Actors Equity Union. And that's where I saw the passion that Wumi has for advocacy and for creating change in our industries, both in film, TV, and theater. And I was just really inspired, Wumi, by the work that you've done in the last couple of years, both as a delegate in the union and in founding this organization. So can you tell us a little bit more about Black HMU United?
Well, thanks so much, and that's so kind to hear. It's definitely been a journey, a journey, because I felt like an ordinary union member. I think most people, they get their coveted, union card, and they think, wow, I've made a certain accolade in terms of solidifying an identity in my career. But I realized more and more that card means nothing without actual rights and protections and systems to keep us as artists thriving, safe, and having the ability to do what we do best, which is to show the human condition in its many forms. And I found during the top of the pandemic myself having a conversation with my sister, who's a performer as well on Broadway. And we were talking about one day, what would this look like? What would this look like if we all got back into acting and performing again and weren't afraid to cough near someone? What would this look like? And I think we came to this conclusion that, well, they still won't know how to do our hair. And then we just died. Like we were rolling, we were dying laughing. And then I got so angry and pissed because it was 2020 and I was still made to be less than at my workspace. There's been so many times where a lot of people with texture, you don't even have to be Black or the African diaspora, which a lot of Latine people are, right? I know, women with really fair skin and curly hair also struggling. I know people who have darker skin compared to some of their colleagues, and they don't even have the right colors. And these are paid professionals, sometimes making six figures doing their jobs and not coming prepared to the space. And in theater, we have situations of people being on tours, taking money out of their own pockets, taking time out of their busy schedules to go find people who can work on their bodies and keep them safe. And these are the things when we talk about quality of life and advocacy for performers that we need to also think about, because during that time that they should be rejuvenating themselves and finding moments to get back to their really hectic schedules, they are taking that time away to pretty much be prepared for the job in ways that they shouldn't have to be. So the org really robustly addresses that issue. And I've been so glad because when I started this conversation, it was just a petition. That petition turned into me running to be a delegate like you to kind of just, what can we do with this union? And it turned into a really amazing thing. Last year, I passed theater rights civil, you know, history, essentially, passing a resolution about hair and makeup, and having that in the theaters and having the advocacy we need. So there's traction. Employers are interested and want to do the due diligence. There's a lot of work, and people like Nakia who's on the ground and doing the work and doing the consulting, we just appreciate her. I mean, Nakia, you already know.
How did both of you connect?
That is a good. Oh, you know what? Wumi was. I remember. Chi Chi actually. I think a mutual friend of ours sent me. I think a post that Wumi had created in terms of advocacy for actors of color around hair and makeup, and she said, "Oh my God, you guys need to connect." And
Yes.
then I remember there was like a post that we were both like responding under the thread, and then we just connected that way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then from there, I just remember talking like, should we create something? Like, I feel like if we ask the powers that be, we ask employers to find solutions that they have not already found solutions for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to do it? And if they do it, will they actually address the issues we are specifically facing with the nuance, right? Because every community, everybody has nuances to how they need to be advocated for. So in that kind of kiki, that kind of initial, like, just what can we do? It led to this one idea, talking with people, even at Actors Equity before I came a union delegate, and seeing what can be done in regards to collaborating, and then realizing there could be room for more hands-on, gritty work to really address for real what does equity mean at the workspace, in a more robust kind of way.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is both of your experience as well, but when we are faced with a situation, right, that we want to change, we normally don't know how to go about it. I mean, it's all pretty new because you're paving the way, right? The Soul Project was started like that. Jacob Padron, it was he came with that idea because there were not a lot of Latina representation in regional theaters across the country. Other initiatives, and even the Latinx Theater Commons, right? That's another collective that came about to specifically fix something, right, in the industry. So when both of you started having these conversations, it is a little bit of like, how do we start? How do we go about this? How do we create this? Did you both have any mentors that you looked to, or how were you able to, because this is a huge, like, this is huge what you're providing for artists and working with the union, and just in general, it's a huge task. So how did you go about trying to find a way of how to create Black HMU United?
I feel like
I truly think it's you are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, I was going to say, I think I would love to start with your story, Nakia, because your story is the epitome of how I also kind of started. Yeah, I would love to hear more about
sure,
Nakia.
yeah. Well, I would say for me, like I'm an actress. Well, I started off as an actress first. I do both, but it really was a matter of me being in shows and sometimes having to do my castmates' hair myself as an actor, even though I was not paid as a designer or anything like that, because there was nobody at the theaters who knew how to do basic cornrows, or just like who knew how to do the textures of my castmates. I remember there was one, a really prominent award-winning regional theater we were at, and really my castmate, she just needed cornrows. They had nobody at the theater to do it, and they didn't have any relationships even with stylists in the area at that time. So I found myself having oftentimes my friends would just reach out to me and say, hey, there's no designer, or they haven't planned for my hair. Can I give them your information? And slowly, I think my name started getting out there as like the person to go to. and that's ultimately how I moved into hair and wig design. It was just cool, like clear that there was a need. So just random old me just kind of filled the need, which is crazy because there are a lot of design, wig designers out here. Or but it's also that the theaters, what I found now being a designer, is that they don't necessarily put the money toward hair and makeup. They expect actors to know how to do it and provide it themselves, and that's not fair because oftentimes just because I'm an actor doesn't mean I know how to do my own hair or do my own makeup, and it's not my job either. So yeah, so that's kind of how it started for me.
That's it. And then how did you shift to being a designer? Because you're
Yeah.
working as a designer currently.
It really was that, like, slowly, I think my name,
Oh,
people would pass on my name, and then costume designers would reach out to me to do like one, like, can you do this person's hair on this show? And then slowly people, ultimately I started working with more designers and more theaters on smaller projects. And then I was asked to ultimately like design full shows.
wow.
So yeah, it's really been crazy because it's not the thing that I set out to do, but I'm realizing so much that it's a part of my purpose, and that's really important.
And you enjoy it. You love
I
it.
do enjoy it. The thing I don't enjoy is fighting with theaters about money and support for actors. Like that's the only part of it. But what I really enjoy is going into a space and knowing that, hey, I have an experience that is close to the actor's experience. So I know the kind of support they need and I know I'm there to give it. Whereas there might be other people who might be also in the space that think they're doing the job, but they're not doing the job fully. If they think that, oh, it's about, okay, I've designed the style, blah blah blah, I've done my job, but there's so much more in terms of support and recognizing the individual identities of actors and the real support that they need, that I think that goes unnoticed. Yeah.
Nakia's
Eh,
just the jam. Like literally, like legit. I remember just hearing about Nakia and just being like, that's wild. How is this woman like she's full on like still acting, like full on, full nonstop. And
It's
then she's
crazy.
also designing, consulting on these shows. Like it's
Yeah.
amazing. And you're so, so needed in this space, Nakia, for real, because people don't realize how important a position like that could be. Like you could be in a
Mhm.
show and think, okay, I'm looking at art direction. I'm thinking about all the little nuances that make story. And then you
Mhm.
think about hair, you think about the time period, you think about
Yeah.
all the things that would be accurate at time. But
Yeah.
then you have this modern day life we're living and other show obligations or other audition or agent
Yeah.
obligations. And
Yeah.
then you think of the nuances of that person, their hair history, what their bodies and things can handle, or
That's
their
right.
skin and their nuances. I have multiple skin conditions. So
That's
I'm
right.
always like trying to negotiate what my body can take in my products or things I can handle. So then you start working with people who don't have the exceptional understanding of your hair, but that's their profession. There's a
Yes,
schism there that,
there
and,
is.
and honestly, right? Like it's not meant to be there because most cosmetology schools, a lot of people don't know this, they learn less than 1% about Black hair in most American cosmetology schools. So right from there, it's not even their faults. So if
Mhm.
they do know the stuff, they've really done extra labor to learn a really robust kind of understanding of their profession. So
Yeah,
it's already at a disadvantage.
absolutely.
So for someone who may be watching or may be interested in pursuing a career like this, what is a normal trajectory of an artist to get into this? And also when we kind of what you brought up, are is the school curriculum, is that changing because of the work that you're doing, and what are the things that are happening now? So first, like, how would a person go into this field?
Well,
Yeah,
it's what
that's such a great
the
question.
field. Yeah, is it the well, it's the difference between the field of cosmetology and being a stylist or being a designer. So do you mean both or
I mean, both
specifically
because
for artists?
yeah, I mean, for example, as a performer, you found like I'm doing this, I love it. Let me
Yeah,
go into this. So you had a different path. But what
yeah.
is the normal trajectory for a designer or a hair and makeup um, artist? What are the paths that a person
Yeah.
can take?
I would say a hair and makeup artist and a designer could have two different trajectories. If you want to be a designer, there are schools, only a few actually. North Carolina School of the Arts has a, a hair, wig, and makeup major. And then also DePaul University has one. And I believe there's a school in Cincinnati that has one, but those might be the three schools that I know that you can get a degree in hair and makeup. So what usually happens is you can go to one of those schools. Those schools can also connect you to potentially designers in New York or other places. Then you would go and you would apprentice under a designer or assist a designer, and they would help to lead your trajectory into design. The challenge is that so many people don't know that hair wig design is a thing. You know that you can be a hairstylist, but you don't know that hair and wig design is really, I mean, I feel like maybe now more recently, but I know a lot of people who just didn't know. I didn't know growing up. I knew I could be an actor, a director, maybe I could be a playwright, maybe, but a hair wig, like a wig designer, like what is that? So I would say that, but you also have to, but that requires a level of access, and you only have that access if there are people who are, holding your hand. But a lot of times we are not led into those spaces as people of color, because what I would say is that on Broadway, most of the wig designers are white men. There are, I would say, maybe three, including myself, Black women. One of those women now works mostly in film and TV. There's another Black woman, Cookie Jordan, who's been doing this for years as like the only Black woman wig designer on Broadway. But it makes no sense. It for all of the, for the longevity of the American theater, that there will be three, including myself. There's really no reason that, but God, I would say that I'm in this space. There should be a line of other people of color that have gone before me that would be in the Broadway space. But it just goes to show, that doors are closed. But I would say also, if you want to be a stylist that maybe like works on set, what you need is in terms of union, and that's something Wumi and I, have talked about. Being in the union requires you to have a cosmetology license, and then it requires about, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 180 days either on set or in theater. What people don't know is that theater is a place that you can gain those hours for the union. Oftentimes, there's not an opportunity to be on set if you're not union, unless you find like non-union opportunities. But it can be really tricky to get those hours. So I know I work with a lot of stylists that I'll reach out to, and I'll have them shadow me and start to work as a wig supervisor in theater and all of those things. And one woman has already gotten into the union. Now she's doing film. There's another woman she just needs a few more days. Like it's like, oh, okay, I know that there's a barrier, and as a Black woman in the space, let me do the thing that nobody did for me. So yeah, so there are
I love
definitely
that.
ways. Yeah, and theater
Yeah.
is a good avenue. Yeah.
Yeah, and just to be clear too, there's a few entertainment unions, um, four main ones, but three primary ones that are mainly in this conversation. It seems
Yes.
IATSE, which is the hair
Hmm.
and makeup union, which also for other stagehands and other professions as such. SAG-AFTRA when it comes to hair and makeup, and so many other things for actors who are in film and in television, that's actor stuff, and journalists and all those reporter people, and yeah, radio. And but then also AEA, our people for theater and all those type of tours and things like that. So there are multiple unions and there are different rules, but for IATSE, if you want to
Right.
be in this, they know their system is stemmed in a lot of white supremacist practices, and they're changing some things. How quickly is it changing? I personally think it's not enough to actually make actual meaningful, impactful change in such a way, unless we're doing things like Nakia is doing, which is incredible, like direct, not only saying, hey, you're brown skin, come get the job, is saying, how can I qualify you? How can I make sure you're robustly prepared for this environment, but then also you are able to provide excellent service while doing it? Because the other nuanced thing about this is you can be any race, and learn, right? So Nakia could be teaching anyone, but what she's going to do and ensure is that they're able to serve everyone. They shouldn't be able to serve some, right? And that's what my pipeline, Adriana, in regards to wanting to start the org, was essentially I wanted to address equity in 3 parts. 1, the working professionals who are currently working and they know there's a little bit of bridge in their education, maybe a lot of a bridge, or maybe even aspiring hair and makeup artists, right? How do we get them more consultant education in regards to making safer spaces for all their clients, right? How do they give resources, just clear, solid resources, accurate information to serve their clients? So we do that with boot camps. We do that through that kind of part. Then another part is vetting. We want to be a resource. We're literally the first and the only in the nation vetting resource for hair, makeup, and estheticians in the country in regards to wanting to use these surfaces in the arts. So when an employer knows this person's been vetted, what that actually means is they are not a liability. You could be amazing, but you could also be a liability. And there have been reports, there have been things in the past where people have not been happy, or unfortunately, people have lost hair, people have been mismanaged. There's been a whole bunch of neglect. So it's amazing to know as an employer, like, wait, I don't have to probably ever deal with this problem ever again. This is amazing. Yeah. So we connect those employers with the vetted hair specialists. If they say they break for all hair. If they say they do, makeup, they will come prepared with all the damn colors, not some, all of them. So it's that thing of that nuance. And then the last part is, how do we make this pipeline? We are developing and working on a program to get into the schools, the cosmetology schools, but also the high schools and things. They know a lot about, like you said, we know about being an actor. We know about being maybe in lighting. We don't necessarily know about hair and makeup. So how we're building a pipeline to actually get people in schools to just educate them, like, hey, this is a whole vibe. You like this stuff? Come through. Like, we need you in this space, because we can start showing them and training them not only about this world, but like what due diligence could look like for them.
And
important.
Yeah.
I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead, Nakia.
What I was going to say about what Wumi is saying in terms of vetting people, because people have lost their hair. Sometimes the higher ups don't even know that somebody has lost their hair because the actor has not told the higher. They've just dealt with it themselves. Like I've had so many stories of this happened and I just had to sit in the chair, the hair and makeup chair, and figure it out, or go, in the back and figure it out myself. But I don't feel like I have the agency to now tell, the producers that this has happened, because I might not be, a series regular. I might be a guest star. I might be coming there just for 1 or 2 days. And I feel like I'm supposed to feel just grateful for the opportunity. So I think what Wumi is doing is putting out fires that they don't even know need to be put out already in the vetting process.
Yeah. What I was going to add to that, Wumi, is so I'm first generation, and when I didn't know anything about theater or like what things were available. It was through when I was in school that a professor. I think I had to take like a intro to acting class or something like that, and they really kind of guided me and were and said, "Oh, this is an option. You know, these are the things." But and something that I didn't grow up with. So you don't even know, right, when you're in high school, what your options are. And it's such a great time for you to be able to connect with those students at that stage, because they're just exploring. You know, they're trying to figure out their lives. They're applying to colleges, and to be able to have just that knowledge that is a possibility, that is an option as a career is really cool, because sometimes you don't even know what you want to do when you go to college.
Definitely. Sometimes you don't even know what you want to do now.
That is so true. That is so true. Definitely. And then yes, and then when I went to grad school, it was such a like a huge thing to even get there, because then that's also another hurdle. And then once you go to grad school, even if that's the path that you take, let's say, then the things that I was exposed to, right, wasn't a total experience. I was the only Latina in my class, that year. So we didn't study Latinx writers. We weren't exposed to other types of works during the period that I was there. Of course, it's changed a lot, and it's important to be able to connect to professors at that level and to programs at that level in order to start changing the curriculum. So the boot camps that you mentioned, is that specifically for producers, or is that also for educators?
I mean, you post something really wonderful and amazing, and maybe that's a future thing that we can provide in regards, Nakia, in regards to potential employer education, in regards to hair and makeup, and how to deal with the questions behind the camera kind of things. But it's actually for working professionals and getting, first of all, a review boot camp as into your profession as a whole, and really understanding the nuances of your niche, but then kind of getting more robustly into how to consult better as a professional. And this is the gap in bridging cultural gaps, and how do you relay information of checking in on your client to show you care. Because even if there's gaps in your training right now, I mean, just with anything we do, even acting, it might take years to get really good flow and understand yourself and your craft as a professional. So to assume tomorrow everyone is going to be Nakia, it's just not going to happen. But what we can do is that we should not be having people auditioning their asses off, doing the due diligence of getting the job, coming to work, and essentially being told that that's then, by literally neglecting their needs when it's part of their job. And no one ever wants to come to a job and feel neglectful. Actually, most hair and makeup people I've met are like some of the nicest people ever. So it's how do we give them more resources and tools so while they're bridging their continued education? And that's the hope. As long as we make it a welcoming space, people will be like, oh, wow, yeah, this is part of my job. How do I just for now show that I care and give them room to like get what they need? Yeah. And I think we in the boot camp really robustly address some of those consulting issues that could be resolved, and at least show that they're supported in the process.
And let's say you're a producer, right? And you want to make sure that you have that line item in your budget. Would a producer be able to contact the org and kind of have that conversation with you about what artist might be a good fit for the particular production, or what is, because Nakia, you were saying, producers are always worrying about their budget, and we need a line item for that. We also need a line item for caregiving, and we also need a line item for other things, right? And so those are the things.
But here's the interesting thing. People end up saving money employing the right person from the jump. Like, think about all the times, Nakia, they've called you to come in and fix literally a mess.
Exactly. You
So
spent
why are
more
you
because you were trying to be cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, and then they come and bring on another professional who has another
Yes.
crazy day rate, or it's crazy
Yes.
according to their modest budgets, right?
Sure.
And then you just have two professionals working where there should have been one, or maybe
That's
one
right.
and an assistant, or one and two assistants. And now you have
That's right.
two overarching. It just gets crazy. So,
Yeah.
had you just had the right guidance from the jump, you actually save money. And that's actually what we're trying to relate to artists. Well, not artists, but employers, that um, whether you're a director, whether you're a producer, whether you're just anyone interested in employing someone for hair and makeup services, just know when you get the right people, and the right means someone who can do the job with grace and dignity for the people who are there and keep them safe, right? So when you get the right people who can do that, you're always going to win, literally.
That's so true.
And that is what Black HMU United is there for, right? So they can contact the organization and have those conversations with you and make sure that they are getting qualified hair and makeup people. That's correct, right?
Well, almost. And again, like, Adriana, you're literally giving some really good ideas right now. No, for real. I was like, ooh, the whole little extra consulting thing. So my whole thing is, we can do that. Is what I usually get as we're starting up the org, as we get video people who are doing music shoots, or directors all over the country. Opera houses, they're looking for new staff for their new season. So we have a different group of people. Essentially, they have an employment opportunity, and they're just trying to find someone who's good, solid, and it's going to make that person feel welcome, right? And so I'll get contacted, or the admin gets contacted about a job opportunity, and we connect them directly with the hair and makeup specialist. And what's great about this is, one of the biggest things that employers hate is never knowing a hairstylist schedule or makeup artist schedule. Like, if they're booked and blessed, like, they might have a one-off week and you just may not know, so you don't even contact them. But here at the org, we constantly are checking in. It's like, hey, within hours we can know and tell the employer, oh, this person's available for this date. And, oh, what did you need? Great, you're connected now. And now this whole other employment issue that usually comes up in regards to recruitment is now also solved. So that's actually how we work. But again, I just love this notion. I'm telling you, I'm like, we need you on the e-board.
Exactly.
I mean, these are the things. Like, right now, we're actually restructuring the org, and we are open and always just open to new ideas and how we can solve this problem. Facts. Yeah. Because you can't do it alone. I've literally tried. I've literally tried. Can't do it alone. And it's the innovative ideas of everyone working together with their gifts to just address some things. That how do we make these spaces better?
Definitely. And the Soul Project is not a producing organization. It was just an initiative, and it also plans to sunset after a certain time. We do partner with off-Broadway companies to help produce the work of Latina writers, but we also serve as a way of, if theaters have any, we come on board also as artistic collaborators, and we say, look, here are these designers, here are this, if they need resources. So this could be also a really good relationship, right? If there's a theater that says, we would send them to you, right? And that would be great. And that's how the Soul Project could help. As a performer sitting in a chair, let's say, and we are, it's makeup and hair time, and we don't feel safe and we don't feel comfortable. What is it that we can say or do as performers and demand?
Great question. I would say it depends on if it is a theater, if you're on a theater project, or if it is TV film, but it's similar. I would say for TV film, it may be slightly more challenging, but what I advocate for people to do is to when you book the job, to have your agent reach out to, like, when costumes is going to definitely reach out to you. So as soon as that happens, have your agent reach out to hair and makeup and say, hey, either you want to try to get their contact information or have them reach out to you to just say, hey, for the audition, my hair was like this, but my hair is natural. If you have specific concerns, unless you feel completely fine about, let's say, hair, I would say if there are some concerns you have about, okay, I don't want my hair over, I don't want heat damage, if they're going to use hot tools, things that that you're comfortable doing with your hair. Oftentimes, to be honest, I suggest that actors use wigs for shows. And so many of my friends that are on shows simply do that because what they know is you cannot, well, even if you fry and dye this wig, at least my natural hair will be, healthy. But I would
Still
say,
there.
yeah, there have been times when I've like booked shows and said, hey, just a heads up, I'm gonna come with my hair already pressed out so you don't have to use heat on it, just because I know I just don't want you, I just don't trust that the person who's gonna do my hair knows. There could be one great stylist and one really not so great stylist, and you don't have the control over who that's gonna be. So even if like you have a curl pattern that you're concerned about, or if you know that there are specific products or tools that you don't want, you can say in a really nice way, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up that my hair has some damage, so can't quite do these things, but if you want to do this, that's fine. So I would say trying to reach out ahead of time. If that doesn't work, right before you sit, like when you walk into the trailer and you meet the stylist, say, hey, I just wanted to just let you know, blah, 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 blah. Because it's going to be harder when you sit down in that chair and they start, it's going to be harder to say, oh, ma'am, get off my hair, like it's going to be too hard to do that. So I would definitely say to, prep yourself and say, I just wanted to, just let you know, I'm just having a few challenges with my hair, or I know that this often happens. So I just wanted to let you know, in case that's going to help. If in a theater space, just depending on what the needs are, I would say having the hair conversation. I tend to tell designers to have the hair conversation, what I call a hair versation, the first day of rehearsal or earlier. But if they don't have it with you, you have it with them as soon as the costume fitting happens, because it's important for them to have a heads up that you're going to need support if they have not thought about giving you the support. But what happens is we'll get to tech and all of a sudden they realize, oh, I was supposed to help this person with their hair, and then now it's a last minute thing. If they don't do it early, you do it early, is what I'd say. Yeah. And also, I would also offer that in your contract, or as soon as the negotiations are happening, put something in there. I know I'm working with an actress. I mean, she's like a legendary person, but she has it in her contract that she gets to have some say in hair. And I'm totally fine with that because I think it should be a collaboration. But if there can be during the negotiations with your agent, or even if it's just you and you have the hair conversation, that's going to be important. Whatever stage it happens in, try to have it early. Or even the makeup conversation. Are they supplying makeup? Is this going to be you? You just need to know what you're signing up for. I think that's the biggest thing.
Thank you.
Those are so good. I'm really thinking about like quick changes right now. Imagine if like hair and your costume is so important, right? What if you have 15 seconds and they don't, and someone's helping you, they don't know how to, oh my God. So good.
It's just too much. Yeah.
And I was also going to say for a lot of people with facial hair or men or hair, like barbering and things like that, it's good for people who have like, especially on the tour or things like that. If like they probably won't have the resources for, the on-site, someone who is comfortable or familiar, it's good to just reach out, or like what you said, reaching out early and just checking to someone familiar with this type of texture, what kind of products they use, because the moment you hear what products they're using, you usually can tell what they know and what they don't know, because
Yeah,
that will give
totally.
insight of how do I keep myself safe. Oh, I have another shoot, and if I have a need a clean face and then they do my face wrong, or if I do something wrong, like we're gonna have an issue. Let me just protect myself in advance. So sometimes, just again, like that negotiation thing, you can maybe even have a modest budget for them to compensate you for some of your out of pocket costs and things like
Mhm.
that. And I know if it's out of usual of what you would have for makeup, sometimes they'll also compensate you for um, makeup needs or things like that. But again, have it in writing and clear before you start.
Yeah, and I think it's so tricky because some of
It
this
is.
is kind of like also a theater project to project thing. Every
Yeah.
time when I go to different theaters, and some are really generous and some are absolutely not. So having some type of policy, or I don't know, clauses in contracts, and I imagine you guys are working on that, Wumi, with AEA, but it's just so tricky. We don't always know what is, or actors just don't always know, like, what are
Ask
my
for.
rights,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's so
but you I
tricky.
think you hit the nail on the head. Like, if you have representation, definitely make sure your representation is working for their coin. The reality
Yeah,
is they're there to make you in the best light, but also in theory to put you in the best position to get the best for your rate and be protected.
right.
So if they're your advocacy partner, they really should put the onus on themselves to reach out, but they will not know your needs, especially a lot of agents that I know are not of the diaspora, right? So that means you, unfortunately, again, our culture change, it's working, it's changing, but different rates. Until then, just know you are your own business. And these are some ways that you can just advocate for yourself in a way that um, because if it's long done politely and done kindly and done
That's right.
appropriately, where they're not stressed, it often leaves agency for someone to say, yes, oh, this is wonderful. Okay, what else can we do? Okay, that room for them to actually feel like it's collaboration rather than a mandate.
That's right. That's right.
Yes. And if anyone watching wants to get involved with Black HMU United or donate or anything else, what should they do? I
Yeah,
know they.
hop on our site for www.blackhmuunited. So you'll see the two U's. So www.blackhmuunited.org. It just shows really quickly some resources of what we provide, but also if you like to donate, and there's other information there. We also have our socials. Feel free to check us out there. But anything, it's not only for people who are like, oh, I'm in this big, multi-million-dollar production. We get everyone from all over the states, like all types of artists looking for for estheticians and makeup artists and hairstylists. You could be someone's like, oh, someone I just cast, and oh my God, they have amazing locks. How do I make sure they're okay? Or like literally like, ooh, there's a little bit of SFX, but how would this look on darker skin? Like, or like, oh, someone is Cuban and they have this beautiful, like, 2C texture. And they're like, okay, it has body, but it's not fully kinky, but it's not, what do I do? And it's a period piece. Go. So it's these are the things we address and connect them with the professionals. Because I'm a performer, I'm a producer, but I am not a hair specialist. The people who are vetted are. So I'm really excited about the variety, the different people. I mean, Nikki, you're literally the head of in vetting, just seeing the diaspora of the people who have been vetted, literally every race,
Oh yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's amazing actually to see actually how many amazing stylists are actually out there, which is the interesting thing in terms of us not always having the support we need. Like, there are people. So,
Yeah.
it just goes to show how much people have not been looking for qualified people.
Yeah. Like we have someone in our database, like literally from the Midwest, can do Bantu knots on wigs, like just killing it right now. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
shooketh, and they're white. So it's just like, it really, and our whole notion is, how do we elevate the industry as a whole? And I think that's all we're trying to strive for. When you elevate the industry in a way that provides opportunities to reward excellence and not reward lack of information, it's going to make a really incredible and even more vibrant environment to work in. And we love what we do, so it only makes it easier to collaborate.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this conversation has been so helpful in getting a little bit more insight in what that world is like, what the current needs are, what resources there are for both artists, and also what performers and other artists in different areas can do when they are faced with a certain situation and they don't know how to respond, right? They don't know how to advocate for certain things. I've learned so much. I want to continue talking, obviously, but we're going to be wrapping up in the next couple of minutes. But this just been it has been so such a special conversation for me to have with you both. I've learned so much, and I'm excited about starting this conversation with the Latina community because this is definitely a need that we have, and it's amazing to know that this resource is there for us, both as performers and also for anyone who wants to transition into a new career. So I would love to hear from Wunmi and Nikia some things that you're currently working on that you would like to amplify or spotlight in our last moments here. So Nikia.
Cool, no problem. I'm actually right now at Berkeley Repertory Theater working on a new musical called Goddess by Jocelyn Bio and Sahim Ali. And it'll be headed to, after the Berkeley run. Well, it's set in Kenya, Mombasa, Kenya. It's a beautiful musical about the goddess Nadira. After Berkeley, it'll be headed to the Shakespeare Theater in DC, and then it's slated to have a Broadway run. And simultaneously, I'm working on a revival of Death of a Salesman with a Black cast on Broadway, starring Wendell Pierce and Sharon D. Clark, who was just in Caroline or Change. So I'm excited about this.
Wow.
I told you, booked and blessed. She's on the road.
Yes.
And also, big shout out to our other founding member, Destiny Steele, who has been integral in providing really great curriculum for the EDU, for the boot camps, and just in general, just being an asset for this team. It's been crazy because we're all working professionals, and we're just trying to create some equity along the way. And that's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm actually in the midst of restructuring and expanding our executive board so that we can have as many multifaceted skills and needs in regards to having really great strengths in putting this initiative forward. But then also I have 2 other businesses outside of this. So it's been a journey of working on those and expanding those so I can give more peace and harmony in people's lives by teaching them some pretty amazing stuff about productivity and organizing their lives. So
that's awesome.
I'm a run and roll, rock and roll kind of person, and it's my systems that's kept me alive, honestly. So doing some work in regards to that.
And where do we find more information about that consulting?
Yes. So, well, I have a practice, AMO Organizing Solutions, and we're on, well, you will find me there on like LinkedIn and Facebook for the org. So
you're all over. You're definitely reachable.
I'm all over. And I'm actually going to be building a TikTok soon for these kind of resources. So you want to learn how to like organize your life?
I need that.
I need that too.
Home organizing, workspace organizing. It's going to be a hoot. It's going to be a whole thing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, this is amazing. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I've enjoyed so much speaking with both of you. Thank you so much for being a part of SoulFest 2022 and being part of our 5th anniversary, which is such a big deal. And I just hope that I have more collaborations with both of you.
Absolutely.
Likewise.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Adriana.
Thank you so much. It's so great.